I good about this
Recording in progress.
one. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. So
Yeah.
now that if you rejoin by the same link, that should work.
Okay.
Is the one on the agenda or the original one?
I think both should work, but try the website. It's the
I got
safest.
it through the one that sent me the invite.
Yeah.
You know,
So if
I
you
like
go- yeah.
signed up and then it sent me an invite.
Cool. But we just got a whole bunch of it at.
Okay,
attendees
everybody
now. So if
came
you,
in.
to
Was
be safe,
Dan in?
Go back.
yes, he
Yes,
is. Yep.
okay.
Great. So now if we just go to the website, use that link, it should work. And we're already having lots of people streaming in, so we're good.
Okay, so that is the correct one.
Yep. So I'll keep an eye out here just in case.
We're all
people join
very
in.
glad that you know what you're doing.
Thank
Apparently
you.
so.
Yeah.
I turned the
Very
scroll bar down
impressive.
enough.
Thank you. We apologize for the delay. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. But we've got the Zoom working. So now everybody's here, the remote people and the people in person. So the first agenda item that we're going to go through is a presentation and conversation with Superintendent Higgins about District 3 schools and its long-term goals. We know there's still conversation about the schools that have changes in moving right now. And we want to talk about early childhood because we have an early childhood focus, things coming up for the future. Our second agenda item will be the Bloomingdale Library item. You good? If you're in and everybody's
No.
there, yeah.
Let me, what I will do is I'll promote you. I think I have to promote you
You're
to,
in. You're almost in.
Yeah.
promote to a panelist, and then in 2 seconds, you should be able, it'll give you a little pop-up to join, and then you'll be able to vote or to share.
Dan's wearing a Celtic shirt during a Yankees. Red
At least it's not a
Yankees.
Red Sox shirt.
By default, it probably is, right?
Sox.
The Red Sox shirt would have been a bridge too far.
You know what you mean.
So, good evening, everyone. Tonight I'm here to cover the PEP, summarizing, talk about New York City Kids Rise updates, looking to the future, AI guidance, and then I'll open with some Q&A. I want to speak honestly about where we are right now. These proposals have brought up a lot for our families, our staff, and for me as well. I know that we are not walking into this moment from the same place. Some of us are hopeful. Some of us are worried or frustrated, and some of us are hurt. And many of us are holding more than one feeling at once. That tension is real, and I do not think that it should be ignored or smoothed over. As we approach April the 29th, I also want to say this clearly. No matter what happens, I know that there will need to be space and time for healing. Decisions like these don't end when a vote is taken. They stay with people, they affect relationships and trust. And those things matter deeply in a community like ours. Even with how charged this moment feels, I truly believe something important about District 3. Despite our disagreements, I believe we are all showing up because we care deeply about our children and about the kinds of schools and the community that they deserve. That shared commitment does not disappear just because we see the path forward differently. My hope is that we can keep showing up for one another with honesty and care, allowing room for discomfort, listening with intention, and remembering that we are connected by our responsibility to the children of this district and to each other. The purpose of the joint public hearing was to present the affected schools' feedback and to have the opportunity to hear others' comments. All comments shared at the JPH hearings will be addressed in the public comment analysis, which will be posted on the PEP's website before the PEP votes on these proposals. The PEP is expected to vote on these proposals at its Wednesday, April the 29th meeting, which will be held at MS 131, located at 100 Hester Street in New York, 1002 at 6 p.m. You can also share feedback about these proposals at the PEP meeting. Summarizing will run for 6 weeks from July 1 through August the 6th, and will include a balance of academics, social emotional learning, and enrichment activities. For our elementary students, there will be an additional 7th week of enrichment led by DYCD, community-based organizations, which will include trips and hands-on activities. Summarizing will be offered at 5 sites across the district: PS 185, PS 87, PS 145, Joan of Arc, and PS 452. Families received summarizing offers on April 21st, and it's important to note that offers must be accepted by May 5. The first day of summarizing for students is July 1st, and we strongly encourage our families to review their offers and secure their seats. I want to talk a little bit about New York City Kids Rise. I want to share an important opportunity for our families. Nearly 380,000 New York City students have already set up scholarship accounts created in their name. Almost all students in grades K through 4 are included, and over $80 million has already been invested in students' futures. The challenge is that only about 40% of families have activated these accounts. That means that many families don't yet realize that money is already set aside for their child. This matters because these funds support college and career pathways, and activation connects families to additional financial opportunities over time. This is really about equity, making sure every family has access to the same future-building resources. Our goal is to reach 80% activation. We are focusing first on 4th graders and 4th grade families by June 2026, and then expanding to all K through 5. We're asking families to do is very simple. Activate your child's account. Take a look at what's there and stay connected with your school for support.
Can you just back up on the Kids Rise a little? Because I feel like we are not so familiar with the program and who's eligible and how they sign up.
All students, right now, we're really prioritizing 4th grade, but it's K through 4 right now.
And how are they activating their account?
They have to go through their NYXCA account, New York City Schools account,
Mhm.
and then they can activate. I mean, the parent coordinator, Tracy, if I'm correct, should be able to walk them through that process.
Right. And when did this program start? I totally don't know the program. Wow.
It's de Blasio's administration.
Yeah, it was de
De
Blasio,
Blasio's administration.
but no. You said de Blasio.
Or is it Bloomberg?
No.
No.
This was under Eric Adams. This was
Yeah.
under Adams, the Adams
Yeah.
administration. So I would say maybe 3 or 4 years,
All right.
3 or 4 years, yes.
But it only has 40% uptake. That's a
Correct.
shame because it's an amazing program.
And
Yeah.
how is the knowledge that this is available being communicated, and what moves are being or expected to be used in order to enhance the penetration rate?
That is such a very good question. So the expectation is that the district is really partnering with the New York City Kids Rise team. And then at those meetings, principal meetings, getting out at community board meetings, they'll do whatever they need to get the message out that we really want families to get involved with this. But it really needs to happen from the district, talking to the principals, because principals in schools have different relationships with parents. And so you need someone in the school who the family trusts to be able to kind of message out that this is a good thing for like all of our kids. Like we talk about college readiness and we want kids to go to college. It's very expensive. So families need this opportunity.
Is this something that would be discussed at SLT?
It could be at SLT, yes. I mean, when I have my principal meetings, here are some of the things that we're telling them, like, you need to get this out there. Because it's just important for like all kids to have access, so we want our school
So,
leaders to do
as an
this.
example, so my son started kindergarten
Mhm.
this fall. We got an email saying this account exists.
Mhm.
Click here to activate it and access it.
You did it.
I mean, yeah.
It's-
It's-
And there
it's
are
a-
other benefits too to it. Apparently, like, there's some other things that folks are getting, like they were sharing there are some other incentives. I was like, "Oh, I didn't know you get that through Kids Rise with Like, yeah, we do. So, I mean, there are additional benefits. It's not just the account.
So two questions.
Sure.
How is the money invested? And second, what do you do with families who have no computers or are unbanked and have no experience in the banking system?
I don't know about what happens for families that don't have like a banking. I've seen folks do this on a cell phone, actually, to register
I
for
did
the
that.
program. So you don't
But if
need,
you don't,
need like a computer per se
but
to
you can
do
do
it.
it
You
on a
can, you
cell
do need
phone.
like maybe a smartphone, yeah.
Yeah,
And they can access it through libraries, have computers and.
But that's a good question about the banking. I could find out about the bank if they don't have like a home
It's
bank.
amazing.
and how are the money invested?
So they're on Tuesday, I'm actually going to New York City is having an alumni association event. And at that event, you have some well-endowed alumni that are choosing to donate back and give back. And so it is an investment. Different organizations have invested into this program. And like some folks go back to their old school. We have PS 75, I believe PS 84. This time has like some of their alumni coming back to donate.
That's
for the schools.
donating.
Yes.
How is the money invested? Once it's in the bank, how is it?
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I could ask though. I could find out.
And I really know nothing about the program, so
Mhm.
this is like a naive question. So I'm assuming if you sign up for this account, there's some seed money in it?
Yes, there is.
So so families who don't sign up, they're leaving money on the table.
Correct.
How much do you get for signing up when you enroll your child?
I should.
It's $100.
How much
But it
is it?
starts in kindergarten and it's being
Yeah.
invested
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
they're withdrawing to go to college at
Yep.
like 18.
Yep.
Alright.
Yes, and it's the interesting thing for us. We were in a different part of the district and they were showing like the demographics and it was a part of the district that is more of an economic need
Mhm.
and less of the families had signed up. And so in more affluent parts of the district, almost a lot of the families had signed up. I'm like, wow. And so we're really trying to get the message that, excuse me, we want our leaders to really push for all of our kids to access this. I mean, we understand why there's some hesitancy for folks not to share information just in general with the government. And I think that they do a lot to try to manage folks' fears and anxiety about sharing some of these details. But we also have to acknowledge that everybody has a different experience, like with the government and sharing personal information. So, I mean, we're still gonna make the case, like, we think it's a good thing and it's safe.
Right.
I'm a little confused about the math of this. If there are 380,000 students who have scholarship accounts, and $80 million is divided among those students, that's about $210 per student. How does that help them go to college or follow a career path?
Well, I think what it's.
The amount of money doesn't sound like it's gonna go very far.
Yeah, it's actually over $80 million and the money is like going to invest over time. So they're going to build interest and they'll hopefully have like something, a nice nest egg for when they are ready to make that decision for college or career.
Are there any predictions or any estimates as to what a kid might expect when he graduates from high school?
I could find out. It's a really good question.
You don't know?
No,
Okay.
it's a really good question.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a program I at least didn't know about, so that was interesting, yeah.
So one of the things that has been happening, I told you that I really wanted to talk about the things that I'm really focused on for our district and like really looking for looking to the future. And so I first want to kind of level set on some of the things that I found about District 3. So across the district, what I have found that there is a core challenge in fragmentation. Like there are many different initiatives that are happening, and there has been this uneven implementation of New York City Reads and New York City Solves. And what that has done is it's led to some inequitable results for different groups of kids. And so my strategy is to strengthen tier one instruction. And tier one instruction is just this big word of what happens in the core. Like most kids spend the bulk of their day in core subjects. I would call that literacy and mathematics. And so I want to ensure that we are laser focused on what is happening in the core. I want to align MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of support. And again, that's just another way of saying that the first tier is about core instruction. The second tier are kids that need more support. And then the third tier are kids that need even more intensive support. And so what the system has really done well is to really norm and set some understanding and expectations around when kids need support, we need to intervene early before we're making recommendations for kids to receive more specialized support. Not that that's a bad thing, but we want to also ensure that all kids have access to strong core instruction in tier one. And so I want to make sure that we are aligning all of our MTSS systems. And then the third piece for me is how are we building our leadership capacity? And I'm thinking about leaders also in terms of school building leaders, but also our teacher leaders. When the curriculum, MTSS, and leadership development all work together, I believe that results will follow. We will have academic gains, stronger school climate, and we will be able to reduce disparities. The work that I want to focus on for 26-27 is focused on foundational literacy, aligning math instruction, and stronger pathways for our students to advance coursework. New York City Reads and New York City Solves create these shared expectations while still emphasizing discourse, writing, and knowledge building. I believe that students will gain greater access to rigorous learning and clear alignment to college-ready skills. Sustainable improvement depends on instructional leadership. And so I want to ensure that we are taking the time to support our principals and assistant principals, and most importantly, our teachers. Our shared curriculum will become the anchor for coaching, feedback, and professional learning. We plan to invest in our principals through more robust coaching. We will have an instructional leadership team structure set up that is really at the school level to support and manage and monitor what is happening within the core. And we're bringing in our partners to support us in doing this work, especially as we consider the implementation of illustrative mathematics at the secondary level for grades 6, 7, and 8. We believe that using the curricular resources, that our school leaders can become more effective at observing instruction, coaching teachers, and using data strategically. Sometimes what happens in a school, the school leader will go into, let's say, like a Wit and Wisdom classroom. They'll observe the teacher, and teachers are evaluated using what we call the Danielson framework, which is excellent for looking at strong teaching practices. But if you're really looking at a Wit and Wisdom lesson, you really need to understand this curriculum was designed in a certain way, and that there's actually a tool and a resource that leaders can use to coach teachers. When the Great Minds coaches go and they visit schools, they actually use that tool. And that tool is effective for helping teachers understand the curriculum better and to help teachers make sure that they're moving their practice in the right way so that more kids have access to what we would consider rigorous learning. And so I want that to be a more shared experience, not only for the coaches that are doing the work, but we also want our principals and assistant principals to not feel boxed into, when I go into a classroom, I'm only evaluating. No, you get more leverage when you are actually in there to coach and support teachers. And so we want to move our focus to more of a coaching stance. And then the third piece is, how are we strengthening two-way communication, like with our families? I received an email from a parent, and the parent shared, like, we don't really know what's happening with like literacy in our district. And so one of the things that I've been working with Tracy and Pat on is, how can we expand opportunities at the district level to include more experiences for our families to learn about what this foundational literacy work is, what Wit and Wisdom and expeditionary learning, and especially with implementing a new math curriculum for middle schools, like parents need to kind of understand what that looks like. And so we want to bring our families into the discussion. Questions?
Yeah, on this, you mentioned some partners, I guess it's primarily in the middle schools. What sort of partners do you bring in, for
So
example?
right now, New Visions is the partner we hope, like we're going to be partnered with for
Mhm.
implementing the illustrative mathematics curriculum. I just need Central to bless that. And we have an existing relationship with Great Minds and Teaching Matters. And one of the things that I found just visiting schools and just talking to leaders, when I talk about things were fragmented, there were so many different initiatives that were happening in the district that it was really hard for the schools sometimes to like focus on like doing one thing and really being laser focused on learning to do that one thing well. And so while they had the benefit of having a coach, they didn't really take the opportunity to really build this robust relationship. It's like, here's a curriculum, here are the things you need to do, check. And I want us to push ourselves a little bit more. Like I want our leaders and our teachers to sit side by side with unpacking this curriculum, understanding how it was designed, really understanding not just the what and the how of the curriculum, but understanding the why. Because what we want, bigger picture, by third grade, every student that leaves a District 3 school should be an independent reader. And right now, that's not the case. And so we first need to like ensure that there's a shared understanding around what the curriculum is and the way that it should be used. And we have coaches that are willing to kind of work with us on doing that.
And are all the coaches through these partnerships, or are there coaches that either come, like that are staff kind of for the district or for the DOE?
Such a good question. So on my team, I have various coaches that up until right now, they've been operating in a lens where they are responsible for doing a little bit of everything. And so, I mean, and that's a great thing. Like you need to kind of keep your fingers like in a lot of things. But I also think that I want to get the best out of these folks. And so we have some folks who are literacy experts. And so it kind of makes sense to me that we have like a literacy team and that your focus is on supporting this literacy work. If you're a math expert, makes sense that you're supporting math. And so there are instructional coaches and they are really excited about this opportunity to kind of like support a new structure. Because I think like they understand what I'm looking for. I always say Brene Brown is clear as kind. Like I'm not the guy that wants to do 10,001 things. I want to learn to do one thing, do it really well, and we'll be successful. But I want them to also feel that sense of accomplishment as well, because we know that it will benefit our students. I shared at our CEC meeting some of our winter screener data for literacy, and we've made like modest incremental progress, but we noticed that there were some decreases in math, and folks are like, but why? And what I said is I think that it's a lot of initiatives and things are so fragmented. And you need to have things that are more coherent, both vertically and horizontally for our kids in our district. Like it shouldn't be where you go to Kristen's school and so you're having a different experience for math, but over here at Kevin's school, you have something very different. Like we want more coherence in our schools. That's the real equity that I seek for District 3.
I was gonna ask Dr. Higgins in
Mhm.
regards to the coaching mechanisms.
Mhm.
What goals are you looking for elementary level and middle school level? And what have you seen that brought you to this conclusion that this is what is needed?
So it's a really good question. We've been looking at a lot of our screener data, like big picture, I look at like the state test results, but that's the autopsy. So once you get those results, there's nothing you really can do about that. But you also can look at what's actually happening in the core curriculum, in the way that the curriculum is being implemented, because all of our elementary schools now are in what, year 3 of using New York City Reads. So now most of them should have a stronger understanding of Heggerty, Foundations, and at the elementary school, Wit and Wisdom. And so in the places where I've been visiting, I've noticed some different practices. And because I come from a district and in my former district, this was what we were really focused on, what was happening inside of the instructional core. We were digging deep. And so when I come to District 3 and I'm walking in the classrooms and I'm walking with principals and they're unfamiliar with some of the routines of what kids should be receiving. And I found that that's just a gap. When I talk to teachers and I ask, well, how many of you in here are letters trained? And they were like, most of them are like, We have not been letters trained. How many of you have been to Orton Gilliam training? We have not been to Orton Gilliam training. I'm like, oh, okay. So there's a content knowledge gap for like teachers. But then when you also think about the teachers, well, how are leaders really effectively evaluating you around your practice? Yes, you're using Danielson for great teaching, but about the curriculum and what teachers need to be able to do, I find that that's a gap. And so when you look at the data, and last night, what the data showed is what we historically see, that there are these disparities racially, Black, Hispanic students, students with IEPs, and multilingual learners. And why is that? And so I'm thinking that, do we even have a shared understanding, one, of this curriculum? And right now, I don't think we do. And so I actually want to just kind of start right there, developing a shared understanding of what foundational literacy is across District 3. I tell like teachers, I tell principals, I am not the guy that is in here selling wit and wisdom and expeditionary learner as the next best thing that will help the achievement gap. There is no magic curriculum. If it was, someone would be making billions of dollars. We rely on really great leaders, really great teachers doing the work, but our responsibility, are we providing the professional learning that they need? And I don't know if that has always happened in the way that it needed to, especially in our district, just based on what I have observed. And then when you look at the data, it tells its own story.
So that was that menu of curriculums that they were able to choose that
Correct.
rolled out over the past couple of years. It was like
Correct.
Wit
Wit and wisdom
wisdom,
and expeditionary learning.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I feel like it used to be even more disparate in the district where individual schools were just almost kind of selling, right? Like what school our kids went to was very proud that it was Teachers College,
Yeah.
which is now fairly debunked
Yeah.
philosophy. Right?
I mean, and I'm not gonna, because I know with all respect, like, I don't want to get into like the balanced literacy wars and the science of reading wars. I think that what I appreciated about TC was that as a habit of mine, the metacognitive work, what readers need to do to find out why they love books and to think deeply about text is still important. And so I think that we have to figure out the right balance. Like, again, it's not one thing or another. It's all of them. And you need to kind of do them in a way that makes sense. And what the science of reading is teaching us is that there must be a more explicit, systematic way that kids learn phonics. Like, kids should not have to guess how to learn how to read. And unfortunately, with previous curriculum, that was what they taught, like the miscue. Look at the picture and help you figure it out. That's not how you learn to unpack the code. And when you know more, you do better. So I want to ensure that at least as a district, what we're leaning into is this shared understanding of like prioritizing that work. But at the math, and I think that that's another part, even at the secondary level, the biggest criticism that we are going to hear when I come back, and we're going to talk about this new curriculum that you're implementing, it's so hard, it's so different, it's so unfamiliar in the way that I learn math, which is a good thing. Because what we're finding is that the way that we all learn math didn't necessarily teach us like the conceptual understanding. I know the quadratic equation, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4a over 2a. Why do I know that? Can you, if you were to say, can you explain why? I don't know, but I know it. If you give me a problem, I can solve it. And we want our kids to be able to kind of unpack the why of their math thinking. We want our kids to be able to persist and struggle. And so the way that illustrative math is even taught is very different. And so for some teachers, they were uncomfortable with that because kids are expected to struggle. And immediately in my teacher mind, like, oh no, I need to go in and provide all these extra things. No, give them a minute. Let them try to figure it out and then lift up what they're bringing to this math lesson. And then you could build into the learning. But there has to be more, we have to think about the way our kids are learning today versus the way we learn. So that's why I was excited about IM, honestly. It is a thinking curriculum. And you want to hear kids talking about their learning. You want kids pushing each other around the way that they arrived at an answer or a solution. That doesn't always happen when kids are using like a more standardized curriculum. We don't want kids just to do like a specific algorithm and procedural math. That's not what we want. So I think IM will be a great resource for our district. And again, I'm very lucky that I have experience doing this previously, and we did this very successfully in District 2. The key is not so much with the curriculum. The key is finding the right partners and taking your time to build everyone's content knowledge. Curriculums come and go, but knowledge is forever. And so I want to ensure that we have the smartest educators in our schools, leading our schools, working on behalf of our kids. So I have to do this presentation because, as many of you know, the city has shared some AI guidance. And full transparency, I would love, there is a space for you to kind of ask questions, and I need you to ask questions because that's part of my job tonight, or to collect the questions and then to share them at the central level. That if you don't want to share, you could also, there's a feedback survey at the end of this presentation. You could share your thoughts and ideas there, but we're really trying to make policy that really engages all stakeholders. So this is something that we are doing all across New York City. Every superintendent is expected to meet with every group that they can, just to kind of share what this thing is. So I'll start. I'm going to transition us into artificial intelligence in New York City public schools. Our goal is to provide clarity on three things: our stance as a system, what we expect from schools at this point, and what comes next. Our students are already interacting with AI outside of school. Our responsibility is to ensure that they are prepared to use it safely, think critically, and make responsible decisions. New York City Public Schools is taking a phased approach, building understanding, gathering feedback, building capacity, and releasing a citywide AI playbook in June. At the center of this work is a shared commitment. AI is already here. The question is whether we will build systems that ensure it is used responsibly, equitably, and in service of all students. As we move forward, our commitments remain unchanged. Strong relationships between students and teachers remain central. Literacy and mathematics remain foundational. Technology supports learning. It does not replace educators. It's important to be clear about what AI is and what it is not. AI can support tasks like generating content and analyzing information, but it is not human thinking. It is not always accurate, and it cannot replace professional judgment. This is why AI must be approached critically. There are clear, non-negotiable boundaries. AI will never be used to make decisions about grading, placement, discipline, or special education. It will never replace educators or misuse student data. These protections are grounded in law and policy. There are areas where AI can be used, but only with strong educator oversight. This includes analyzing student data, supporting diverse learners, and student use of AI tools. In all cases, educators must review and validate outputs. There are also areas where AI can be used confidently. This includes planning, drafting communications, translation, and professional learning. Even in these cases, educators remain in control of decisions and outcomes. We are continuing to build towards a June AI playbook. There are still key questions that we are working through, including academic integrity, family communication, and responsible use. This is ongoing work, and community input is essential. That is why we are urging our families to share your questions and comments in the survey. This work is grounded in strong protections, federal, state, and city policies that safeguard privacy and rights. AI must align to these protections, not override them. All AI tools must go through the IRMA approval process. Student data will never be sold or used to train AI systems, and multiple laws ensure student privacy and security. We are addressing academic integrity, family transparency, and ensuring AI supports, not replaces, student thinking. We are also clarifying how policies apply as this work evolves. No AI tool is used without review. Through IRMA, tools are evaluated for privacy, security, instructional value, and bias. Only approved tools may be used, and all are continuously monitored. Families have clear rights and protections. You are partners in this work, and transparency remains a priority as we move forward. Our next steps include continuing to engage schools, gather feedback, and ensure thoughtful implementation at the school level. We are asking families and community members to actively participate in this process. I'd love to hear if there are questions that I could lift up.
I have a question. My first question was just as far as teachers educating students on AI, how are the teachers being educated in that process?
Other questions?
Cell phones are pretty much banned, right?
Yes.
So students using AI under supervision of their teacher, like would it have to be on the school device only? And are there particular platforms that the DOE is, I'm not gonna say required, but are there specific platforms that they're looking to use and not use?
So there are, if you're not an IRMA approved, you can't use everyone wants to work with the DOE for obvious reasons. But there are like strict procedures to become an IRMA approved vendor. And so you can go through and you can check to see if this group is clear to work with your school, but there is not specific guidance that you have to kind of work with one chat. Let's just say you have to use ChatGPT over Gemini or one over Copilot. Like, if it's approved, you can use a variety of tools, but it must be approved.
Have there been any discussions or thoughts around particularly high school students being AI savvy as the corporate world will continue to evolve and require a lot of their employees to have some sort of AI skill set such that our students are prepared to enter the workforce, either as a high school graduate or when they graduate college, going to their first job post-graduation.
That's a great question.
Dan has a question.
Go ahead, Dan.
Sure. First off, Dr. Higgins, thank you for being here. I'm sorry I couldn't be in person again. I'm recovering from knee surgery, which explains my reclining position. It's not that Passover is extended for me. I really appreciate this update. I've been following the deliberations of the school system on this, and it's nice to see that they're doing it in a balanced way and not, being driven purely by fear or, rushing headlong into embracing the technology without thinking through the implications. I'd be really curious, though, for you to step back and talk a little bit more broadly about the conversation that's going on about screens in schools, particularly for younger students, and to see whether this is something, what your perspective is and what conversations are going on within the DOE in response to some of the evidence coming out about the negative effects of relying on screens, particularly for elementary schools, students.
Have you read Jonathan Haidt's book?
I've not read the book. I've read his writings and I've been following his leadership very closely, and I'm a big believer in what he's talking about.
I am too. And honestly, I think that he is onto something. I think that that is also part of why we are collecting this kind of information. Before I got here, the district, in a very thoughtful way, engaged parents around the selection of a math curriculum. And I'll make the connection. And one of the things that they heard frequently from parents, this idea that they did not want a curriculum where kids were on a device for a long part of their school day. They were like, we remember what that felt like during COVID, and it wasn't healthy then. And so we don't want to continue some of these things. And I think it's part of the reason that they selected illustrative mathematics. But I do think that we need to assess, like, how much time are we requiring our students to really be on devices? Like, it's scary. Like when you see children like as young as like my 2-year-old nephew, like already with the device, like, what are you doing? Like, kids should just be outside playing. But I know that part of our process now around these kind of discussions, and that is being something that the central team is talking about. So I appreciate you looking that up, but they're thinking about that. That is something they are talking about. Yes.
I had a question around, I guess you would call it AI cheating. I think a common concern I hear is kids are very savvy. You go home, you can solve any homework or any assignment with AI. And I think we're now at a stage where 2 years ago, you could tell. At some point, I think we're there already, but if we're not older soon, you can't tell if somebody used AI. I think that's just seems to be not tenable. So I'm curious to see what are some of the challenges. And then how is the curriculum going to have to adapt? Are the teachers going to have to adapt? How is the DOE dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're doing this right now, talking to all of the different stakeholders. Like, I can't imagine being a teacher now. Like, I heard one teacher saying, oh, yes, I'm just gonna have my students just giving oral exams. Like, that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know, when you have like 28 kids in a class or 23 kids, it's just not a sustainable model. But we do need to think about how are we also preparing students to think more in a more ethical way. And I think that some of the things that we used to talk about, that we used to value, we're now going to have to ensure that those things are prioritized. Like academic integrity needs to mean something again. It always has meant something to a lot of us, but I think now that there is more of an opportunity to misuse some of these tools, we need to ensure that our kids don't think that that's the path that they need to take. But yes, we are engaging in those conversations. Yes.
I work with some young people who use AI all the time, and they've lost confidence in their own ability to write. And I was wondering what, DOE can do to make sure that kids develop that confidence so they don't feel that AI can do it when they can't.
I love that you asked that question. This is the argument that I'm trying to make. There are so many things that we must talk about as a district, but I also understand when I have an opportunity to continue to make the case around what's happening inside of our schools, but within our instructional program, like we really need to be more mindful of that work across our district. And when you have, as a system, an investment in New York City Reads, where kids, at least for 3 years, should have been exposed to really rigorous knowledge building opportunities in reading and developing the competencies to be more independent writers, that they should have the confidence to write independently. And the fact that that is not something that happens across the district is a concern. And that's why I want to focus like clear sky, and the focus will be on literacy. When people are like, what are your priorities? New York City Reads, New York City Solves, and Focus Ready New York. That's one, because those are the big citywide buckets of work. Then MTSS, what's happening in the core? And then the third piece, how am I taking the time to build professional learning for teachers and school building leaders? If you have all three of those elements, it will change what happens in the core for kids. Because that's the most impactful. Like when kids are in a classroom, teachers have an opportunity to support them in growing as learners. But I don't know if we've done enough work on supporting teachers across the system to do that work successfully and effectively. I have what I call an expression in some schools, it's choose your own adventure. And some folks think that I don't need to use a curriculum. I know better. And when you know better and you're not using a curriculum in the way that it's designed, you can't expect to get the outcomes because a lot of these curriculum are evidence-based programs where they're proving. And so you're making a modification either in the timing of it or in the way that it should be taught. It's not good for kids. And kids are making like mistakes and not really learning, and they won't be able to do the great things that you're talking about, learning to be a confident writer, learning to be an independent reader. That's my. Other questions? Thank you all.
Betsy, thank you. I just want to remind us of the time, it's 7:25, and I know that I see a lot of people here, so I imagine that we have a lot of parents that would like to speak or ask questions. So we will come to public comment now. We'll probably, I would prefer to not have to time people, but realistically, 2 minutes is gonna be the max, just so that we can get to our second agenda item, which is about the Bloomingdale Library.
Yes.
To remind everyone to level set, this committee and through the community board passed 2 resolutions about the school movement structures happening right now, and that will be in front of the PEP next week. In one of our resolutions, we actually requested that the DOE withdraw the proposal to move Manhattan School for Children, or sorry, not move, truncate. Because we felt like that was not, in fact, fully formed, right? That the half of that original proposal, which involved community action school, no longer stands. We thought that in that building, there needs to be a little pause to have some more creative thinking about solutions for that, all 3 school communities in the Joan of Arc building. Our second resolution that we passed was about the movement of, and to go back to the MSC one, we also discussed the truncation at 191 and the lack of notice for families with 6th grade students or 5th grade going into 6th grade students. The second resolution was about Center School PS9 191 and that movement, moving Center School. We were trying to balance, which we now empathize, I think, a little bit with the city and the district, the needs of both Center School and PS9, because they are in the same building, right? And that is a high need issue. So what our resolution primarily focused on is if Center School is moved, there were some very clear asks from the community that we thought needed to be elevated and lifted up. And as a community board, we would like to do whatever we can to help lift those through the city. So they included improving the theater space, but it's a better technical word.
Performance space.
Better access to transportation, right? So working with the city to increase bus transportation there. Better access to the park, which I believe the city council member and our board is working on getting the permitting for the park. I think that was it, it was those 3 items. I think we can just go to public comment unless anybody on the committee wants to comment on any of those right now.
I just wanted to say the open space for the 191 building is actually outside of the city's control. Though there are obligations for third party to perform, and my research indicates that party is not performing.
Whoever's developing the park.
The park is part of the overall Riverside Center development, and they're
Right.
not holding up their end of the deal. And this should have been done years ago, and it can be done. In actual work that's needed is about 4 to 8 weeks. I won't talk about how long it takes to get the permitting done and what other contractual issues are. Those are not of our interest. And I would imagine that our council member and our other electeds would be able to facilitate some of that. As well as the various city law departments.
It's like a little heartening to hear that Cause we don't always see eye to eye on it, cause I think it should be faster, but Ira who's
should be-
been
it
in
should
the
be.
trails knows
This-
how long it could take.
This should be faster. There's got to be some reason that the party that is developing this park has not renewed their permit since 2024.
But I find it heartening that they physically could do it, and
They
so I
could
feel
physically
like
do it. It's.
there's an opportunity to light a
there's
fire
just
and push for that.
Something missing.
Yeah.
There is a way, but there is no will.
Yeah,
And we have to find, and there will be a will. We just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But that's why we have electors, right?
yeah.
And that's why the city has lawyers, right?
Who owns the property?
There's a, I put that in the email. It's a third party that was tied into to the development of those 4 buildings.
So the developer owns the property? or is it-
Correct, and the contract is held by the permit is held by their contractor.
And when they're done, who runs the property?
The city,
The city,
but they have to build it. And they have not built it.
and the city isn't responding.
Speak to their lawyers.
I have a question.
You know the song, send lawyers guns and money?
In regards to parent engagement on all aspects, particularly 191, Center School, is there still ongoing parent engagement? I'm quite sure there's some parents here from Center School or other schools. Not just in this space, but with the district. And has other options been explored? For example, for Center School, going to another space within the district. Are you aware of any of that, Dr. Higgins?
Are you talking about something like recent, or are you talking about the past? I wanna answer your question.
My question is past and present. Is there ongoing engagement? I know there's, I don't know, because I wasn't there.
Okay.
But what I've heard is there had been engagement or conversations about spaces. And those spaces were not conducive to the school community. And I'm hearing now that there is ongoing, so hearing it from you would be very helpful.
Sure. So we're at the part of the process now where we hosted joint public hearings. And so we held joint public hearings on the 13th, the 15th, the 16th, and the 20th with all impacted schools, just to be able to collect additional feedback. And like I said, for them to offer comments on where they are regarding this process. I think before we had the actual JPHs, and when I started in January, as someone that was new to a lot of this, I was just thrown into the middle of a firestorm. And so it was trying to kind of understand. And so I met with SLTs, I met with PTAs, I met with individual parents. Like this is just trying to better understand the various perspectives of these different folks. And so I could say just from when I started, like those are some of the things that I did. Now, if you zoom out and you think about the initial process, like the mid-district working group started in January 2025 around some of these discussions. And so, and for the Southern District, it was June 2025, trying to kind of deal with some of these very complex challenges that exist within the district. And so I think that there were different touch points and opportunities for a principal, parent-teacher association president or their designee, parent coordinator, to be a part, and the U of T district rep and the CEC representatives. Like they were all participants in this engagement process. We could debate, and I'm sure you'll hear tonight what that process and how folks experienced it. But for us, that there were opportunities around engagement for how we got to these proposals. I also think that there were opportunities, particularly for Center School. The principal in November of 2024 was allowed to visit different locations to assess and determine if this might be a good fit. Some of them, the principal decided, others were decided like where we are now opening up 1972 Broadway, the Early Childhood Center, was determined this is not appropriate for middle school. Manhattan Country School was determined by SEA not to be a viable option. And PS 165 was determined by, they declined 165. And so I think that there were spaces that were considered for schools.
I'm the PTA exec member at the center school as well as a working group.
Yeah,
member.
so you'll get a chance to speak and then we're going right to public comment, okay?
Those public comments, I only get 2 minutes and there was an error in a statement just now, at least 2, may I? correct
Okay,
that?
can you correct it in public comment? Thank
But
you.
that would come out of my 2 minutes, so I know.
I can
only
give
get
you
2
more
minutes.
time. That's okay.
Pardon?
Yeah, no, just to keep it moving. I'll give you more
Give you
time.
more
That's
time,
fair.
Divided more time, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Do we have, because we do want to go to public comment, do we have any other comment from my committee? Because we didn't have a sign up sheet, I think you should go first, so you can go ahead, if you can. The only thing I ask is that these little owls on the table are our mics,
Sure.
so you might need to stand up in order to
Okay.
address the owl.
Hi, my name is Jean Levy. I'm an 8th grade center school parent. I'm gonna put my trim down, so I'm a little bit more professional for you guys. I am a working group member, so I can tell you that relocation, yes, they started in January 2025, but until November, no relocation of center was ever mentioned. And during these working group meetings, they were secretive. They were private, closed door. They instructed us not to talk about what was talked about at the working group, outside of the working group. In November, several scenarios were considered. One, erase 191 outright, one put center in, I mean, it was, and the whole time, up until December 17th, Kamar Samuels told us, I asked him, are we being moved in September? And he said, there are no plans to move center school in September. That's fact. From January 22 to March 6th, Dr. Higgins, you've never come to our PTA meeting. That's not true. And between January 22nd at the town hall, when District 3 came and told us, did an about face and told us that we are being moved in September, Dr. Higgins did listen to us graciously and said that he would take our pleas for more time back to his office and we would continue parent engagement. At a public meeting at CC3, 2 days before our February SLT meeting, Dr. Higgins surprised us and announced that he would be joining our SLT meeting. At that time, he told us no other options were available except for 191. It was like a predetermined outcome. Now, aside from that, which, you know, he invited himself, between January 22nd and March 6th, when the proposal dropped, there has not been a single meeting between our parents and the DOE, not a single invitation. There have been no two-way discussions, any meeting. Between March 6th and now, a focus group was convened, but you know that New York State Education Department 2024 published an entire report of mayoral control. And in it, it says that once a proposal dropped, PEP is basically a rubber stamp and almost 100% votes to approve DOE proposals. So once the EIS, the proposal for school utilization drops, it's almost always approved. What you have to do is avoid that being dropped, right? So once that EIS published on March 6th, between that and now, there was a focus group. That wasn't a two-way discussion. The people that these District 3 brought to do little breakout table groups, they didn't even know what was going on. They had no answers. They could not answer any questions. One table didn't even take notes. And has not been a single meeting between parents and the DOE where we're able to ask questions and receive answers. That is not engagement. Engagement, when you look it up in Merriam-Webster or any other dictionary, it says to draw a conversation. That's two ways. It has never happened. Ideally, I think what as a city we would like to do, because you know we have declining enrollment. I love the city. My kids are getting, and thank you, Dr. Higgins, like I can tell as he talks about educational stuff, and I've been at New York Inspires meeting at the working groups, he's an easily admirable man. Like you can tell, he's easily respectable, I can tell that he loves and wants to educate children. I think the way the city wants to do this is to sit down with the school well in advance, say, listen, you guys gotta move. What do you need? We have been saying we need a theater. We're a theater art space school. RSMA doesn't have an auditorium. It's a multi-purpose room. You have to bring folding chairs out. There's no backstage. We need a theater. We are a mixed grade school, white school. We take our.
Thank you. Do you have, it's well over 2 minutes. Do you have a specific question?
Yes. Between January 22nd and March 6th, Dr. Higgins, did the District 3 reach out to us to have a meeting with parents?
Between,
January 22nd, 2026 and March 6th, 2022, when the EIS dropped, did the District 3 or DOE reach out to our parents to have a meeting, a two-way conversation with us?
I have engaged in multiple conversations with all of the affected schools.
That's a yes or no
And
question, sir.
I have engaged with all of the different schools.
You have-
And I want to say this, you know, I recognize that, like I said earlier, we all enter into this conversation in a different place. And I have met with SLTs, PTAs,
You have not met with our PTAs.
individual groups of families. We have had focus group meetings.
Yeah.
I've listened to like parents and their concerns,
You have not.
and,
All right, but
and
I just
I've
wanted
had an
like a quick
opportunity.
answer.
to-
Yeah, it's not a back and
Okay, I
forth.
have one more question,
Yeah,
please.
but I will comment that, in fact, our meeting was in February, so parents did speak at that meeting. I know that, like,
And
That's
fine.
something to you.
That-
May I have one more question? The EIS says that they will explore, and Dr. Higgins has said they will explore us possibly using the theater at Juilliard and the Lincoln Center and and PS 452. We reach out to those organizations. The DOE has never reached out to them, and they don't have any capacity to for us to use their theater.
Okay, thank
Dr.
you.
Higgins, did you reach out to
You're
those
well
theaters?
over your time. I'm sorry. I can't have it go like all night, because we have a lot of people to speak, so. Yeah, who's next to speak? You can go ahead in the back. I'm gonna ask, because of the sound with the owls, can you stand kind of on this side? It will pick up the sound.
Hi, I'm a parent from RSMA. And first I want to thank you guys for the resolutions you passed for Senate and for MSC. We are kind of united in this, but I'm here to respectfully ask that you also consider RSMA. Just to give you some context as to how RSMA got on the chopping block. We received 500 asylum-seeking students from January of 23 through, I believe, around September of 25. With little to no provisions. Our concerns went unheard when we reached out to Superintendent Kamal Samuels. He then, in September of 23, our school was pushed into the IB curriculum, which is an amazing curriculum. But considering we were already recovering from COVID and receiving the new students, we were not prepared. We were not on stable ground. 50 of our teachers left since then. 4 APs have left. Leadership at our school has not led properly. We've had no provisions. Again, our concerns went unheard. We've never heard that we were being truncated until December. I believe it was December 17th, while Center School was already touring our school. There has been nothing done at RSMA to help our students, and our students are the most vulnerable in this situation. 40% of asylum seekers, 35% have IEPs with a guesstimate that 60 to 65% need one. Our children's academic times have been cut in half for translation. There's no separate rooms for the 500 students who were enrolled that don't speak the language. So they're not bilingual. To be clear, we get 45 minutes of wit and wisdom, which is supposed to be a 90-minute curriculum. That 45 minutes is then cut in half. So my son, who's in 6th grade, gets 15 minutes of wit and wisdom, which is about 300 monthly compared to someone at Center School who gets 1,800 monthly. We're taking the same test and we're being told that our children are failing. So what I'm asking for is that RSMA is given the provisions and time to rebuild. Black and brown community schools are necessary. There's no, in the EIS, it's a mess for our children in particular. There's no, I don't know where my son will be next year. We're being told they'll meet with us and tell us, but my son is in his community school. I have twins who go there also who are both autistic. They're in kindergarten. I'm essentially being told to choose between my elementary school students' education and my middle school child's education. How do you do that as a parent? I can't. And if I have to, it would be my kindergartners because there is a school down the block that is an elementary school. There's no middle school within a mile radius that will accept our children and not collectively. This feels like a big black spot on the previous superintendent's record, and it feels like they're bringing it down by dispersing our children. Black and brown
Thank
schools
you.
are important.
Thank you. Somebody want to speak next? Good.
Hi, my name is Mike Robles. Wasn't it?
Yeah, speak to that.
How are you guys? Dr. Higgins, nice to see you again. Appreciate the time here. I am also a parent of two children that are SMA. One is a first grader and one is a sixth grader. And as much as Tiffany has already said, I won't bring that up as much as I'd like to just share that outside of the Black and Brown community that really need to be, that are underserved, that really need to be taken care of. I'd like to just address the fact that the timing really puts strain on family members who have both a first grader, a middle schooler, and elementary school. We're talking about decisions to be made after the April 29th decision in about a span of 2 months to have to figure out things in September. So if we're trying to give preference to children from Manhattan School, Manhattan School children, and also the center school, please consider the fact that in none of the proposals, we actually try to do a child-centric approach of trying to keep the families together. As Tiffany said, some of the schools that are available for middle schoolers are more than 1.5 miles away. And you're taking into consideration the families that have to try to struggle with pickups and drop-offs. I have a child who is also on the spectrum and visually impaired. And I was happy enough to get both of my kids together at the same time, but now having to worry about both doing that is going to complicate things, let alone, I think some of the ELLs and migrant families who have may have challenges in speaking the language that you have to explain to them what, where, and how to keep the families together. So I just want us to also consider and adding to the proposal that whatever should happen also, if anything goes through, to really think about the families that are going to get dispersed. Because if there's no preference for those families who are having to get moved, that it could put strain to the community itself in terms of the travel that's going to roll. Thanks.
Thank you. We have one person online.
Oh, can I speak? Or are you gonna do that?
I just want to get that online so they know we're not
Yeah,
completely ignoring.
yeah.
We know they exist. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to ask a question for Dr. Higgins. I've spoken a bunch, so I just want to ask a question. The proposal is to phase out MSc, but for RSMA, the proposal is to truncate it all at once. And I'm wondering if there's any explanation for why that decision is being made. Is there some reason why that is the right choice for MSc, but it's not the right choice for RSMA? Or is it only because of the urgency of moving center school in that you're doing it that way? Thank you.
So my understanding of the different proposals were grounded in the working group structure, and they considered different scenarios and different ideas were generated, phase outs, truncations, or just like some examples. And I was not a part of the district at that point, and so I can't say with clarity how they reached that decision around the truncation for one school versus the phase out for the other. But I know that that was part of the process of considering different scenarios.
Thank you. I know we have someone over here who wants to speak. You come up and then, I believe she wants to speak next, but I lost that contact.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm Anna Reed. I'm a parent from MSC and also one of the PTA co-presidents. I also want to thank the committee for passing the resolution about our school in the last meeting. We had our joint public hearing last Thursday where Lafayette's principal said they've already offered seats to 147 students, which is about 60% more than their current sixth grade, while also saying they're already too overcrowded to serve their current students. So even if the proposal regarding truncating MSc passes, this will undermine any relief of overcrowding. If the proposal doesn't pass, there won't be room for them. So my question to you, Dr. Higgins, is who approved expanding admissions under these conditions? And what's the actual plan to make sure that all our kids are safely and appropriately accommodated in the building?
Thank you. So questions that were raised during the joint public hearing will be responded to in the public comment analysis on April the 28th.
Can I ask, when will that be posted? Will we
April-
have time to review
Oh,
it?
yeah, the day before the PAP, they have to. April
What
28th.
time?
I'm not sure of the time, but it will be
Okay.
available the day before the PAP.
And where are they posted? Like on the DOE website, or they're sent to like the schools?
You know, can you look for me, Tracy?
Yeah, just to ensure everyone has
Okay,
access
I
to
mean,
it.
posting it the night before doesn't really leave much time for parents to review and see that we send a lot of comments, I think. And questions about the facts that were in the EIS and that were not in the EIS, so
Yes.
would be nice to have
Thank
time
you.
to review. Thank you.
I think we had another speaker over here.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for chatting. I just want to first express my extreme frustration because although we respect your time so much, all of us have been told we have 2 minutes to speak at all of these meetings. And I know there's a lot of time and I know it's not, no one wants to sit through them until 11 o'clock. We've done it and we've been chasing the PEP all over the city. We've gone to Staten Island and Queens and Brooklyn and everywhere that there's a PEP meeting to talk just to get another 2 minutes. So I appreciate your time very, very much. And when we're having these 2-minute meetings, we're not actually just having any engagement, right? We're talking at someone and they are talking at us. We've not one time had a time to have a back and forth conversation. And I know Jean brought that up, but it's incredibly frustrating because we have so many questions, especially about the EIS. For instance, in the 191 EIS, on page 52, on page 67, on page 81, 128, there are areas where it says it's a placeholder, doesn't even say the school name. So especially when it comes to the Title I money and what happened to it. So that's really concerning, that this document would be considered the legal document to close a school, but there are placeholders where there should be information. And we've been asking Center and 191 and MSC, we've all teamed up together, and CAS. And we've been asking, what happened to those funds? Where are they? And I'm not going to ask you, Dr. Higgins, for an answer to that because you came into this mess and I understand that, but we are still waiting to know where those Title I funds went. So aside from that, I just want to mention a few things. I know I'll be out of time. You guys talked about that John, our principal, looked at other spaces. I just want to clarify, when he looked at those spaces, the first one was Manhattan Country School. And SCA said, no, we would love Manhattan Country School. In fact, a few parents, Councilmember Brewer was gracious enough to meet with a few parents back in January. And it was her idea that MCS would be a great place for center school. So we don't want to close that. We would love to re-engage in some sort of discussion about that. PS 165, we know there are 400 empty seats there. And we've been told that they're expanding GNT in that school. Even if they expanded GNT, there would be enough room for center school. When our principal looked at that, it wasn't, oh no, this isn't for us. It was more like when you're looking for an apartment, right? And you're like, well, there might be something better because that school has pillars in the gym and we have a lot of sports teams. So it would be difficult for our sports teams. However, we would take that over a place with no.
Way over 2 minutes.
Yeah, with no
Sorry.
auditorium or outdoor space for our curriculum.
Thank you.
You know, it's the PEP, the public comment analysis is found on the PEP's website.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy.
Hey, Reggie.
I want to thank you for coming tonight. I am here. I want to ask for some clarity about a comment that you made at the CB7 meeting when the resolutions were announced. Specifically, you made a comment, I believe the direct quote was, "That is not equity." And you were talking about space allocation in the Joan of Arc building. I want to give a little bit of context. The building is not at capacity. Right now, according to the EIS, Lafayette has 2 full-size classrooms in excess of their footprint. MSC has 3. we serve about 400 students and they serve about 200. So I totally appreciate the space constraints. We've given up our book room and our music rooms in favor of service rooms. But my curiosity, and honestly, the reason I ask this question is because something that's happening now is some contention between our communities, which is the one thing I'm really trying to avoid, because no matter which way this proposal goes, our elementary will still share a building with Lafayette. And it's really important to me that we don't get into a place where we can no longer comfortably share the building. So I'd love to hear more about why you feel there's an equity concern based on the allocation of the space.
So I think that's a great question. And so what I would invite us to do is we could join the principals at a building council meeting and we could talk about it with them directly. Because I think before I arrived, they had shared that there were challenges in how space was shared equitably among all three schools. But that's normally resolved like with building council, and I would welcome us to it. If they're open to it, we could join. That would be fine.
I'm wondering if there's ever a space for parents to get involved in those conversations. We have made some headway between the parent bodies at these three schools now as a result of these proposals. And so I do think there's a huge willingness for parent bodies to come together and help solve the problems, even if the principals are struggling.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if there's a provision for that, but it would be something that our parent leadership would be very interested in.
I think I think most principals, would be open to something like that, yeah. Yeah.
Do we have anyone else to speak? I can go.
Someone follows.
Oh.
Someone just raised their hand.
Okay, so one person live and then we'll go to the person online.
I'm sure anything works.
You can go ahead first.
Okay, I'll just read what I have and then maybe just response. Hold on really quick. Hopefully you haven't started yet. Okay, in a focus group meeting about 2 weeks ago, center school parents were asked to sit in groups based on basically the three things that you mentioned in your resolutions. It was about busing, a theater and outdoor space. Parents walked into this meeting with hope that gaping holes in the proposal would be filled with a plan for each of them and more, considering how rushed this move is. It was actually an exercise to tell parents, mostly mothers, that they were too emotional, and at the same time asked us to come up with our own solutions that, because it was like, we were told that nothing that had been said before this small focus group was recorded. So anything that we had ever said in a public comment was never recorded. And so they wanted us to retell them so that it was on the record and so this is like, to drag us along. That is what we felt like in this meeting. We were put in tables with, people, Jean had mentioned what that meeting was like. We can talk about curriculum all night and what works, right? There's so many different types of curricula. My background is in education. Childhood poverty is how we fix curriculum. Any curriculum that works is there in countries where there is not childhood poverty. So anyway, we were told that we would be given more space, that they were going to take space from PS 191 to give to us for more space for them. Do they know that? Really concerning, since, we know how it feels, to have space taken away. The Upper West Side is a community. I've lived here for 20 years, and every school, every neighborhood, I run into people that I know. And this neighborhood is so special. It's the most beautiful. I mean, Dr. Higgins, this is something that he mentioned, I think, in his first his meeting that we were at PEP and this at the same time. He said, District 3 is like the perfect world. It's just everything. And so it has been heart-wrenching to be pitted against our neighbors, our church, members that we go to church with, members that we are in schools with, members that we're in after schools with. We've been pitted against each other. It is hurting our community. Like I said, I've been in some of the focus group meetings. We were told not to tell anybody. PS9 teachers told our teachers that we were being kicked out of the school, and we hadn't been told yet, but PS9 had. And we were told that 191 would be closing before 191 was told, and so we told them accidentally. And so this is where hurtful things began. And when we started speaking with the other schools.
I'm gonna ask you to start wrapping up.
yeah, and when we started speaking with the other schools, it was like, yes, like we care about this community, we care, you know, we feel it's a trust, it's just trust. So I also just wanted to thank you for the resolution. Thank you for listening to us and hearing us and for spending the time on that. Just thank you from
Thank
the
you.
center school. Thank you.
On our tech challenges, we're gonna go to the person online. Now the speaker's not working on our timer. So we see it, but you can't hear it. I'm not making up numbers. Go ahead, Julia.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Julia Basha. I am a center school parent, and I also had 2 kids at PS9. I was on the board of PS9 for 5 years, and I was very concerned to hear tonight that it sounds like many more offers were made for Lafayette than there is space, given that a vote has actually not happened, which makes me wonder, and this is a question, and I'm hoping Dr. Higgins, you can actually give a real answer to this one. How many offers did PS9 make? Is PS9 also operating like Lafayette is, assuming that it has already gotten the approval for the expansion and that center school is going to be moved out? So the question is very specific. How many kindergarten offers did PS9 make this year? Please, an answer.
So I actually came here tonight to talk about what I had promised the community board, that I was going to share like part of my vision, and I was going to share about the AI guidance. I do not have like the enrollment numbers. That was not the focus or the purpose of this discussion tonight. I didn't come prepared for that.
Yeah, and I'll clarify, this has been like, actually got bumped because of the
Yes.
last meeting, but this has been a long-standing invitation
Correct.
to please come and talk to us about the district. This was slated before we knew there was any change in school enrollment or location or anything like that. So that's why, that's the focus of the discussion. It's
Was
not to sideline
PS9,
it.
has PS9 made more offers? You don't need an exact number, but I mean, that's something that as a superintendent, you must know.
I'm not going to speak on hypotheticals. I can't, I don't want to
It's
give
not a
you.
hypothetical. Offers were made already. Offers went out. It's not a hypothetical.
Thank you, Julia.
We can get here.
Thank you. We
Thank
gave
you.
them the opportunity to speak. And if you want to get the answers, how would you go about sharing that with a school community?
I think the school, I mean, the principals know, the school knows, I mean, they're asking questions.
Okay, so there are other ways of finding out. All right. Do we have any more comments or questions on this school issue?
I'm
Because we do
sorry,
have a
but
second
that-
agenda item.
That doesn't make sense. The school leaders may know, but why would they tell a random parent what the answer is? I mean, why would we say that parents have to go and call principals in order to get that information? Why isn't that information available on District 3's website?
Just to clarify, I thought the parent identified themselves as a 9 parent, so it seemed to me that it's a 9 question. But that's, I wasn't saying generally for anyone in the world.
So she said she had been a 9
Oh, I didn't
parent,
understand.
and she is
I
now
didn't-
center
Thank
school.
you for clarifying. I did not understand that.
But then it just clarified, because I don't know, you're right, like, they don't make offer numbers generally like
They
citywide
do not.
public. It's always been, because I worked with it quite in depth on middle schools, we know it was always quite a challenge to find that information. So, again, I really don't want to be an apologist for the GOE, because I worked for many years to try to get them to disclose those numbers. I can tell you what they always told me is that they're not settled right in the beginning. There's always like an up, down. They kind of don't, they're trying to not be held accountable to that number until they know they really have to, when they're like children in seats in September.
But
So
they
with
know
like
how
middle
many
school
offers
offers,
they made.
So
I think they should, but I know they often don't.
what I've done is I've spoken like with President Joe Bracknell, and we have invited the Office of School Enrollment to come and just share at a CEC meeting. So we're just trying to figure out a date when they could come out so that they could explain, like, and answer some of the questions that our community has.
And will families be invited to that meeting?
It's a CEC meeting, absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
Dr. Higgins, that's all, to have enrollment attend the meeting, that you're saying?
We're just trying to figure out the date when that will happen.
That was-
But yes, correct.
Okay. No, I think if people have spoken once, we're not gonna like go around for seconds. We would be here forever if ever. And you could make your 2 minutes, 20 minutes that way. So unfortunately, I understand that people have a lot to say, but first of all, we are not the PEP. We are not even the CEC, but we do really value hearing from the community. We're really glad we can lift up voices where we feel that we can. We sometimes we're shouting into the wind. That's the truth, right? But we certainly try to do whatever we can to help members of our community. So I'm very glad we got to hear from the school communities again. I'm particularly glad that we got some parents from
Some
one
PN91, I was
ninety-one
gonna
to
say
come
that too.
tonight. So thank
Really
you. That
glad.
was really valuable. And I thank you, Dr. Higgins, for also giving us not only addressing the issue that's sort of the moment, but giving us the overview for the district, which we've been kind of asking for in the morning. And just so you know, that is like a standing invitation for us, usually once a year. We want the superintendent to like give us the lowdown and what the district's doing. So we hope you can join us in the
I'll be
next
invited
school
back. I
year.
hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I just want to say one thing,
Uh-huh.
to all the parents, I honestly appreciate, it's an unfortunate situation. Very unfortunate, but I do appreciate you all coming together and fighting as a community. That makes a huge difference. So me personally, not as a public member, but me personally, keep fighting. Keep fighting. Show up next week. Just keep fighting, okay?
Thank you. And I think we will move to our second agenda item. So Seema has joined us. I'll let Seema introduce the second agenda item. Is there anybody who could just let us know?
Yes. What did we, the agenda? If someone has it, come here, it's up.
In this
I
role.
don't laugh. It's complicated, wouldn't.
Do you have a laptop or anything? My.
No, this is more of an iPad.
But we can use.
Only thing is I've got work stuff on it, and it's kind of, yeah, it's like you violated the IT policy.
Yeah, you can't do that. You couldn't put that on your work computer, right?
Yeah.
You're only
taking advantage of the late night.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.
What's up? How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, I've tried.
Everybody's good. Everybody's good. How's your folks?
What's that?
Very
I am
nice.
so
Yeah.
deeply grateful. Thank you. So deeply grateful.
I guess we'll
That
have
was
to be in
the first
that
time I
position.
got that. I know, but I was thinking,
And I didn't mean it in a bad way.
no, I understand that.
You're dealing with a lot of
But I
different.
think that
Cause I don't
he
think
would
they'll
be
be
more
recorded.
effective if he wasn't using so much jargon. Thank you
He's-
so much.
Things have changed so
No,
much
I
since I was in school.
A bunch of times that I've never heard it.
But I think those have parents with children that connected to CPS, they know.
now.
Yeah, I don't have any children.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's all changed so much since.
It has changed a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
Cause I remember when I was in fourth grade, I got this math problems, for homework, and I was just, I've never seen this math before, this is like new math. And I asked her, father, you've seen this math before? No one, and none of the parents
No
have
one
seen
had,
it.
well, that's what he's talking about. No one's prepped. Oh, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. No, you're sure.
And I'm hearing this really, I was talking to, I have a lot of friends when kids are talking about this new math that's out, which is weird, it's like add something.
All right.
You
go to
you go to the, yeah, which is ridiculous.
This is true.
That makes no sense. That's not what we do in the real world.
Well, sometimes, you go to 40 and then you subtract 2 in order to get.
It's ridiculous.
Person is Kristen will
Yeah.
come back. Okay, so I think.
No, it's the number's 40.
So, okay, this resolution is again about the Bloomingdale Library project, which I think we are all familiar with. Just to refresh our memories, the Bloomingdale Library is at 100th between Amsterdam and Columbus. EDC is currently in the latter stages of an RFP process to bring on board a team to redevelop, basically to demolish the existing library and Department of Health building or training facility that is there right now. In its place, the Department of Health would move out, a new library would be built along with housing above. If you'll remember our previous conversations, both as committees and also with the public, there's been a lot of sort of frustration about 3 things: communication, that enough of the community wasn't engaged in this process before the RFP went out. In particular, the NITRA communities that neighbor the library, as well as the PS 163 community. The second issue is timeline. They came to us with a schedule that says the library will be built in 2033 to 2034. And oh my gosh, what about the housing crisis? Can't we build it sooner? And then, oh my gosh, I've forgotten the third item. Give me 1 second. Oops. Help.
I would think the responses to the RFP are due this week, or next week.
They are, yes. And wait, the third thing is, affordability.
The proposals.
Yes, affordability,
Yeah.
sorry, and subsidy. That was actually the number 1 item in our letter to EDC. This letter, which I hope you have all read, is basically requesting that EDC and HPD come to us and talk to us about these 3 sort of dynamics, and can they explain to us what role we have in helping to push forward these 3 items.
Sam, I have a question. We had asked EDC to let us review the RFP before it went out. That did not happen, did it? Did not. I didn't.
I don't know if they're legal.
Well, they certainly are legally allowed to. I mean, they've
Yeah,
had
I mean,
experience in the past, but anyway, they did.
Yeah, they did not. They did not. All of the RFP, the addendums, all that is available online now, but we unfortunately were not given.
I mean, they did a whole thing about their community outreach, which they posted. And I think they feel that they want us to believe and that all the proposers, they want all the proposers to believe that that's all been done. Because there's a lot of text in there, but the text is meaningful or not, it's another issue. But it is, they think that they fulfill whatever obligation they have.
I think that's what we were raising, that like the RFP was so vague that it.
Well, most RFPs are vague.
Here, actually, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
There's, to me, a real frustration about that because several of us, Ira sat next to me and several other people in this room went to the different information sessions, both at the library and virtually, where we asked specific questions about, hey, how big is this building? How much affordability, et cetera, et cetera. And their answers at that time were, we don't know, we're gonna be guided by the RFP responses.
Yeah.
However, the presentation that was given to all of the RFP, to all the people considering responding to the RFP had very specific guidance, which was, this is gonna be an R11 building, which is a massive building. It's gonna have approximately 850 units. It's gonna be blah, blah, blah. It had very specific criteria.
It was R12, it said R12 actually, right? I thought it said R12.
You're right. Sorry.
FAR 15, R12, right?
No,
Yeah.
FAR 12. No, FAR 15, you're right.
Yeah,
Not
FAR 15,
R12, R11.
Yeah, but they,
R12 is the FAR 18.
the problem is that the responsibility
Oh, you're right, yeah.
fell to the developer. Even if the
Yeah,
city is
yeah.
going to be the applicant.
Yeah, but like, Yeah, you're right. Sorry for interrupting. Yeah.
No, that's good, but the table setting was much more specific than what they had led us to believe.
But it's
which
one
was
of the
frustrating.
things that they didn't do, which is the reverse. We usually do when you have this RFP without any requirements, is you give evaluation criteria, which is what I would have expected to see. Because then when you put out your evaluation criteria, it's left to the agency to figure out what most fully satisfies all these diverse, and they can then weigh. Of course, then we use. And at the same time, while they're doing that, which somebody's not here, so they can say this, is they're, all the submitters who think that they have an actual chance after they're the first step are running around to all the electeds like crazy, trying to get electeds to back.
What I don't understand is that when they presented to us, they were so vague and they said it depends on the developer and the developer will determine the height, the size, the bulk. But when they went and they actually talked to the RFP possibilities, they were talking about specifics. So why didn't they tell us the specifics since they were out there? It wasn't that they didn't know it.
It's because they're EDC.
I'm sorry?
It's because they are EDC.
Yeah, I will admit to having, after meeting conversation with a couple of people from the DC. And they're not sure that that's just something they didn't even get back.
Well, the one thing they
Wait, I'm
have
gonna-
said
it's fine here.
was 850 apartments.
Yeah, I keep talking. I'm gonna pull up this document that
Do you want
they,
your phone?
was one of the
Your phone.
agenda that
No.
will.
Unless it
And,
rings.
and
Okay.
if you're gonna do 850 apartments there, you can't have a small building, it's gonna be
Yeah, but-
gigantic.
Usually, when you say that it's 850 apartments, there's distribution given as well. 50 of this, 100 of that, something like that. You can't just say 850. I want 850 cars. What is car? Is a car Lincoln Navigator? Is it a Yugo? What is it?
Well, much
Did
bigger
they at
difference
one
with
point tell
cars.
us? I'm sorry.
I'm saying, much bigger difference apartments than with cars. It could be a studio, could be a 4-bedroom, so.
Right, but that,
Yeah.
that 850 number, if you take actually, it's implied in the gross area of the building, then you could come up with a loss factor, and then you figure out what's left over. And it's like the game that Gary Barnett's playing with us, which is going to give you 5,000 apartments, each one of them is gonna be 100 square feet.
Exactly. I mean, basically, at one point, someone actually said they were gonna be mainly studios and 1-bedroom.
Which is what he's been selling us.
You know.
Cause he
But
wants
this
to
is a
fair.
different development, it's the same concept though, they want to say, we got X number of apartments.
Right.
Without actually providing
Yeah.
the kinds of apartments people want.
And it doesn't address the real issue. There is a shortage of affordable housing in New York City for families.
Yeah.
And that's not, those are not studios, those are
Yeah, if you
2-bedroom
were to ask
apartments.
me what they're looking for. I don't know if everybody saw the Sendero Verde that I sent around to people.
Yeah.
I have a hunch that that's the kind of thing they're looking for. That's, I think, like 700 apartments, it's 34 stories. It's, that sounds like where you're gonna win, but a little bit bigger.
I think they
But
are
that- but
going to
it's-
go a lot bigger. a
Yeah,
lot
did they
taller.
talk about
They talked
54
about
stories?
They have to go 50 stories because the Sendero Verde site had a bigger footprint. This actually has an inordinately small footprint for the building, for the number of units they're asking. That's why it has to go high.
Why do you think that they're putting in a community facility?
Because the library is already. there.
Because that will raise it up higher, right?
Well, first of all,
They wouldn't
They're
get a bid
taking
on
the
the
library,
space.
no,
Well, the
the city
bottom-
won't give it up if
the
they.
bottom
don't
5
have
or 6
the
stories of this
library.
building is junk. It's across the street from a firehouse and a police station. Okay,
Could be exciting living there.
I mean, look, personally, I am not against a tall building. However, I am upset that I feel like we were misled a little bit. Because here is what they, in their February addendum, sent to the RFP respondents, which is very specific. These are just one page of several, but And it
Yeah,
says
I will
on-site
take my phone.
requirements, you know,
Yeah, which is firmer than what they were saying before.
definitely.
But once again, they're saying no subsidies are available.
So I also attended, just a side note, I attended a Zoom this morning with the NYU Furman School.
Yeah, I attended the same thing. I didn't see you. I wanted to get the actual breakfast, but I didn't get there.
No, I was on Zoom.
What?
I was on Zoom.
Oh, I was too. And next week, by the way, it's gonna be available for everybody to watch.
Yes. So, one of the people speaking there was Deputy Mayor Borzov, who talked about this specific project and how excited she is about it, considering it to be innovative in that it doesn't require a city subsidy and it is.
Except, how does that really work?
All of that to say, it made me sad about the potential for a letter. But-
It shows the
Yeah.
inclination of the city. Yeah.
Exactly. If we're trying to, overreach EDC, that's not gonna address the level.
Yeah,
But-
so I think we should consider a couple of things. One, that yes, the city sees an opportunity in an area with a high land value to take advantage of that and have a private developer build not just a new library, but new housing without city subsidy, right? And I think it's fair to say that like, everything about this administration, they are willing to spend like public money on building housing. So it's not that they're not trying to spend it in general, but that's about it here. That's one thing. Second thing I'll say is that if we would like to have some influence on, say, helping review the RFP responses and, help, convince them to make it more affordable or whatever else we'd want, maybe it doesn't behoove us to send them a letter saying, EDC, you guys should not be in charge of this.
Well, the first thing is, if they wanna make it more affordable, you don't build a 50-story building. That's the starters.
Whatever points we have to make, whatever merit they have might exist, but if this is all couched within a letter saying we don't even think that you guys should be in charge of this project, how effective are those points going to be?
So the letter has changed, I think, since when you saw the new version of the letter, which is quite watered down, is more about, hey, HPD and
Come
EDC
talk
come
to
talk
us.
to us.
Yeah.
But that's a fair point, like maybe the letter, I don't know, I guess it's, open to discussion. Should we send this letter? Should the letter be different?
Did you write the letter?
I wrote the first draft, this is more John's draft.
Good.
I'm coming from a point of really not knowing much about the housing world. So have they done that before? Does EDC work with HPD? Or are
Yes.
they really one or the other?
Yes, they have worked together. I've worked with them on projects. where they
So
both
it's
have
not
these-
fully unrealistic for us to ask, can they work together?
So the other two library projects that have been done under this executive order have been HPD led and 100% affordable.
Right, but they ran the whole thing.
They did. This new version, again, Sword is an example of it in CB2, I think,
Yeah.
and this one, which is no HPD, no subsidy,
Right.
all sort of.
And they're proud because it's no city money.
No city
Right.
money.
So what
Again, for
would
it's more
we gain by
reasonable, no
having
city money.
HPD involved? As a practical matter, I mean, assuming no subsidy.
Right. To my mind, I feel like having HPD involved, they have a much more robust outreach process, a community visioning process, which they have done at Grand Concourse and Inwood. I feel like that is something we could really benefit from, even if it is gonna end up the same amount of, 30% affordable, 20% affordable. I do feel like getting more community consensus into the project is a big thing.
I will say though, you add HPD to it, it's another year on schedule.
Well, that's horrendous. Is that really true?
Yeah, so so two other points I would make are, one, I have a friend at HPD who told me that's the very reason you mentioned, the fact that it's not fully affordable is why it's the EDC project. He's like, we typically do the fully affordable projects and the ones that aren't, this whole idea of having private developer buy it, that is an EDC thing, and that's why it's bifurcated. That's not, of course, set in stone, right? But that's why, so that's why it's not our project. Secondly, yeah, it's interesting for us to complain about how long the process is. And then say, actually, can we restart the process without using bringing in a whole separate agency who has its own existing process, which we know is not shorter.
Yeah.
I mean, they have, HPD has done projects that do have market rate units, but the majority of the units are.
Yeah, it's like a very high percentage of,
I've done it where it's been like 75 to 80%.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean,
So I have a question, and I'm not a housing person, but if HPD is not involved, is there any chance that any of this will be affordable?
Yes.
Yes, there's a minimum
That's the-
affordability, 20 to 30%.
That's built
When
into
you
the
see
zoning.
mandatory inclusionary housing, that's affordable.
Okay.
But we
It's not
don't,
necessarily affordable for everybody. But affordable for
right,
their-
because we don't know what the AMI is yet. And it could be something where, you know, we started 2,000 for studios.
I would bet it is.
Well, some of the portables now, if you look at it, and they used to do it 160% of AMI. So 100% of,
And then
I'll go with 120, but not 160.
And then the other question that I had is in regards particularly to the library. So based off of the first meeting that this was presented, has any changes come about from what was said before up until now in regards to the structure of the library with anything?
No,
No,
I
same.
think that one they're actually doing in good faith.
Okay,
I agree. I think the library portion seems to me like low hanging fruit, like it's pretty attainable for
Mhm.
anyone putting the bid in. It also you can look like a good guy without doing, it's not an
Like I
incredible
said,
amount of
you're
work.
giving
It's a
your
pretty
worst-
easy.
giving the worst part of the building
Yeah.
away. That's
Yeah.
why, that's why Gary Burnett's offering us what he's
First
offering
floor.
us.
So I'm feeling good about the library
Very
portion,
good.
kind of
Okay.
no matter who gets the bid, it would be really unusual to do, our bar was pretty low to do worse than that.
Although
Yeah.
there's still the issue of the how long and where the
very
temporary.
library
Yeah,
will
and
be,
there,
right?
whoever gets the bid is supposed to cover that, they're paying for it.
But I mean, that depends on how quickly they finish the building, and nobody wants it to be wherever for long.
10 years.
So the first
Hopefully
3 years, nothing's gonna happen. The library's gonna be there another 3 years from now.
Yeah.
This is gonna take them
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
months to a year to make a selection. Then the guys gotta go design the building, do the site analysis, go through the Euler process. Because remember, this does not qualify for the new expedited Eulers. Because it's not in that,
Because it's too soon.
no, it's,
Because it,
Why
yeah, he's
doesn't it?
already know.
No, if it
No, no.
requires an EIS, then it doesn't fit in any of the
yeah,
affordable
and
housing
it's not fully
contracts.
affordable, it's not
That's the
HFDC,
trigger.
requirements of
Yeah.
the program.
it's not HFDC, it's not fully
What
affordable.
about the
Right.
fact that this
Yeah.
is spot zoning,
Say that,
which really
That's-
shocked me?
wait, say that again.
It's a
Yeah.
spot zoning, that piece of land, that not very big piece of land is going to be rezoned and nothing around it.
Oh, the way they'll solve that is at the school.
No, but it's not spot zoning if the owner of that property chooses to initiate, which is the city, right?
The only time we used to do spot zoning was to allow someone to have a swimming pool in Staten Island. I mean,
No, but the city can decide itself that I want to do this on this property, right? And
they
It's
hadn't before.
They still go through a Euler.
it's a ULURP for sure.
Yeah, they're going through ULIP and it's city-owned property.
It will, but the idea of spot zoning, the whole idea of it is antithetical
It was. That doesn't
to
mean
good
it is.
zoning.
There was a long time where we did spot zoning, and there was a long time we didn't. And now we do. Again, because if you, she could tell you, Layla Ozark went through how little public land there actually is that's buildable. That was rather surprising, because everybody's been saying, oh, we have huge amounts of public land. We said, no, actually, of all the public land, 60% of it already has projects on it that's actually buildable. There's all sorts of public land that's not buildable. It's a triangle, it's a 20-foot lot in
No, I know.
Bushwick.
Parks,
you know,
cemeteries.
Right.
There's some that's like literally 1 foot wide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it goes like,
There are
it's like
people who buy
100
that.
feet by like one, yeah.
Yeah, so there's actually this makes kind of funny when we think about the exercise we just went through last year.
Mhm.
The amount of public land that's actually out there.
Yeah, we looked through the whole district.
And the maps are actually now available online too.
Yeah,
Which the Furman Center put together.
Yeah, I actually, on a separate note, I think we should actually talk about that at a future land use meeting, is look at what that
We can
map
probably get
looks like
something
for the Upper
from
West
the
Side,
center.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've
Talk
had
to us
Mark
about it,
Willis up
weigh
there
in.
before.
yeah, and related to that, remember there's that list of that the Vermont administration's asking for by July of like
Yeah.
spots where they could build housing.
Well, this
Right.
is part of that, this is that lift initiative.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
This is what she was talking about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's behooves us to
yeah, to look at it. wait.
submit something and say,
So,
here's what we,
that city golf course is looking real good right now.
the Brad Lander plan, yeah. Put it on the golf course.
But it does sound to me, again, and not being a housing expert, that the way the city is trying to find whatever land they have, that's gonna be all kind of spot zoning. Right, hopefully not 20-foot lots, but like, they usually don't have contiguous land.
Not every parcel of
depends where
land
it
is going to need rezoning. This one does because they want to build extra.
Because of the height.
Right.
But if you're going to make the most of this piece of land, I mean, I'm talking with the arguments we had on 108th Street. But we
That
recognize
was a
that,
bigger piece of land.
but we recognize that this was a very scarce public resource. And there was a sort of obligation to make the most of this, because at that point in time, there were only 3 pieces of public land in the community board. One of them was on 96th Street, which has now been built. Then it was 108th Street. I can't remember the last one.
Okay, but I'm willing to make the trade-off if they were family-sized apartments, if they were 2-unit, 2.
They might
I know, but
They might be, we don't know.
for those poor people who received my email a couple of weeks ago, I said this, that not only, we have to stop counting numbers of units and start counting numbers of people. And then I did the math that showed that if you take this amount of space and build family units, you're going to get 500 people living in this
You know, a
site.
lot of people living in the living room, sleeping in the living room.
Well, yeah, I've been in section 8 where you have 2 bedrooms and the 2 bedrooms have 2 bunk beds each and somebody else is on a couch. That's unusual, but the point of the matter is we have to get away from the idea of because remember, public housing is still, the underlying premise of public housing is still a 1930s nuclear family where you have 3 bedrooms, mom and dad live in 1 bedroom, boys live in 1 bedroom, girls live in another bedroom. That's not a family either poor or rich in 2026. That family structure is obsolete, it's not entirely obsolete, but it's not entirely common either.
Yeah, I mean, one thought I have, I mean, if you maybe focus on the consequences, like if we wanna have a lot of family units, or we wanna increase affordable, or whatever, as opposed to like, what seems like a process objection, which is we need this other agency, this agency to come have a meeting with us. That's just like a process thing, right? I mean, I know we've done that, like in our previous letters, we said we want affordability, you know, we want X, Y, Z. I'm not against this letter, I mean, I'll probably vote for it. I just think that I'm just trying to make it as effective as possible.
Mhm.
You know, like they're gonna read this and be like, okay, great, you know, maybe they'll even come to the meeting, but like, if you can focus more on like, here's what we need for, here's some practical
Why?
goals,
Yeah.
Parameters.
that we should focus on. I think that's would be more effective.
Well, I mean, if you listen
I like
to
that.
Gail, she talks about family units. And can't disagree, I don't disagree.
I mean, that's fine. I mean,
When we did 108th Street, there are family units in it, and 3-bedroom units in that building, a lot of 2-bedroom units in that building. Most people, when they do those buildings, do most like 60% ones and 40% twos. That's, you know,
I mean, I think we'll have the most effect, like once the RFP submissions come back,
Which
right?
is, I think, next week. I
Yeah.
think.
How can we have a voice in that process?
I think you're
Right, so our letter should be like, how do we maximize our chances of having a voice in that process? That should be our goal for the letter. You know,
I mean, the first couple of weeks, they were opening the envelopes, they're making sure you've made met the basic requirements of the RFP. And if your proposal is even vaguely financially viable.
Yeah.
So they're not even gonna start counting number of units and looking whether it's 30 stories or 90 stories. Until they get through all of that, and if somebody somehow or another made an arithmetic error, they get a few weeks to correct it and all that nonsense. So that's why it takes like
Yeah.
6 months.
I mean, is the public going to know like a list of 5 finalists? But how is it?
So all of the people who've attended any of the info sessions or tours is available online right now, but you don't know who actually is gonna bid from that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, once they come back,
But
like,
once they get their
like,
bids,
three
we
months,
get a look.
like
yeah.
a year from now, or whatever, 6 months from now.
We just hear like.
Are they gonna say,
approve
like-
this bid, we don't get anything
Well,
in the
are
interim.
the
They never
bids not
have.
available on the website?
No, they're not gonna post the RFPs.
So like,
We
with
could reach
Penn,
out to
like with Penn
Madison.
Station, right, we know that there's 3 plans. We don't know all the detail, but one of them includes moving, that's for that, just for example, right?
Conceptually.
It's conceptually. So in this case, are we gonna like, oh, one of the bids is 70 stories and it's 80% market rate versus this one is 2-story? I'm just wondering. So if that was the case, right, then we could come back together as a group and say, okay, we like option 1 and write a resolution, right? And then, that might have an effect on the outcome.
So maybe this letter then is sort of more focused around, hey, how can we be helpful partners in this
Yeah.
RFP review
Yeah, I actually
process?
said, why would we want to put that in there? But it'd be a great idea if we did, and you took me up on it,
Yes.
which is fine.
And I still think we should keep in the stuff about timeline. I mean, we can still keep in the other things maybe as secondary concerns, but most
Yes,
focused
and
on.
like, how can we be involved? It sounded when you were speaking that one of the things that we were interested in from HPD is the way they do community engagement.
Yeah.
So do we want to cite that as a model, like, that we're interested in?
Yeah,
In this previous, in the kind of community engagement we've seen from HPD?
Yeah, I think that's a
And
better
then
way of
when
going
you
about
say
it. I like that idea.
Bring
community
everything else up.
engagement at this stage, I mean, the RFP is already out.
Well-
So then is it community engagement to talk about what's in the responses? How
Well,
much of
you know
that
what?
is available,
Very often in these kind of projects, they'll do a charrette,
Right?
and that's not done, that wasn't done here.
No, but it's already late in the process.
It's too late in the
for us
game
to
to do that unless you start the whole thing over.
No, but it
But
could,
we're not asking that.
no, but it could
That's what
still
they
be part of the Euler process, right? So before they actually define the project enough to be
Yeah,
ready
except
for
by
Euler.
the time they're going to Euler, the developer's already been designated.
Yeah, but with the developer on board.
No, no,
I'm
but it's too
suggesting.
late for a charrette, which says, what should this thing look like?
I mean, I will say, I did one project where there was a city park that we had to build that was part of the development, not all that different than Riverside Center. But for the park, we did have a charrette.
But that's a different.
But we've
so what
already-
would we
not
do a
only would-
charrette for in this?
Not only were we
situation?
designated, but we had already built most of the building.
Sure, but the park that hasn't been designed can still be designed.
That's right.
What hasn't been, what will not
will we
have
do
been
with the building?
designed with respect to this building at the end of the RFP process? I mean, once the RFPs are.
It's not gonna be designed until you're through Euler.
Yeah, the RFP is really just gonna be the concept, right? And even still, that has to be fine tuned with all of the
I mean,
actual.
what we saw was definitely not just a concept, it
Oh,
was.
it's.
Yeah.
I mean, the RFP will look like this, like what you said, the Sendero Verde project, right? Like, there will be something.
So wait, is that to say, take out the community engagement process? Where was that comment going?
Well, I think that what Kristen said was like, we can mention HPD as like a model for how to proceed. Maybe as opposed to saying like, they should be literally brought in, right? Just kind of say like, we like that, the engagement that they've demonstrated, and that should be a model going forward, something like that.
I'm gonna ask another question of the group, again, from my non-housing brain. I had assumed that part of the process of the Euler is like things get kicked back and modified during that process.
That's
Is that
actually
not
was during
true?
certification.
Happens before.
Okay,
Okay, there's a lot of blood left on the table before you ever get to see the Euler.
so that's the moment where we would like to interject ourselves, I believe,
Well,
right?
that's where you get it,
Yeah.
and we get like a month. We get maybe a month or two to participate.
Maybe more.
And changes are made. You're right. I mean,
Yeah.
during the ULIP process, if a community board really pushes back on things and it makes sense.
They can change it.
Yeah,
Right,
we,
can
when we came in with 108th Street, the dining room was a big glass wall, so you could look out onto the park.
Mhm.
And if we were gonna get get Paige and a couple of other people to agree with us, that big glass wall turned out to be big windows in a masonry wall,
Mhm.
and that's what you see today.
Yeah.
I mean, but in my experience, I find us to be most successful when we engage in a pre-certification process, that once it becomes certified and starts the work, we have just minor tweaks that we can make.
Yeah.
They've just been through all of the environmental reviews. and
That's
all
true,
that.
yeah.
They're unlikely to make big changes.
Yeah, and they spend, that's when they spend the most money, right?
Exactly.
So once they spend that money, then they're less flexible.
Yeah. So ideally, we can engage beforehand.
You also have to remember, while all this is going on, and they're pretty far through the design, they're also running around trying to get money from everybody.
They are investors.
No, well, they have investors, they have lenders,
Mhm.
and they're trying to put their finances together.
But first we had to see if they'll talk to us. If they talk to us, we can have,
Your point is very important. And the purpose of this letter is, the way I read it is, talk to us, please.
Right.
Your life will be much happier, and your developer will be much happier,
And
and
make us
we will be
happier.
very, very happy.
right, if they say no, or if they kind of dodge it.
And then all of a sudden Gail ends up in the meetings by herself.
It's not Gail, it's Councilmember Brave.
What?
Councilmember Brave.
Okay, same thing, but he's not as developed onto this process. I keep forgetting who we are.
I know.
Yeah,
He's engaged. He's definitely been to all of the info sessions and.
right, but I understand, but this is not. Gail's been doing this since I was in diapers.
She's a pro. Sure.
And if I, depending on proposal, I might be in diapers again, but,
Okay, so this letter, change it to not bring in HPD, but use HPD's process as a model.
Yeah.
Ask for engagement in the RFP review process.
I don't know if I would use parts of HPD's review process as a model. Because I refer to them as a toilet paper, dispenser, police. Because that's what they tie you up for 6 months.
Ah.
To make sure that you have the grab bars in the right place. And
But I think we said the community engagement part.
is-
Yeah, we're
Okay.
not gonna be down in the
I mean-
nitty gritty like that.
Does robust engagement, community engagement for certain types of projects. It's not like they've never done it.
Mhm.
I just, this
We just wanna
process
see them do it here.
It's not
Right.
necessary. So I guess what I'm wondering is what specifically are we wanting to see them do that they haven't done? Other than do it better?
well, you know what's interesting? I did a project which my team didn't get. It was the brig, it was called the brig, which was in Brooklyn, that's the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And the city got a hold of design we did, and they gave it to another architect to finish, because the other architect, the other developer, had more units in it, which meant more voters. But city planning didn't really like their plan, so basically, the build solution was by the way, the plan that was built on family units. And they gave that to the other person who had more units. And that's how the two plans got together, and I've never had the stomach to go see it other than online.
I mean, I think the three communities that they have not done enough to outreach to, which you were there at this meeting, the Douglas houses. PS 163, they got almost nowhere with either of those communities, and then secondarily Parkwood Village.
But they went to the Douglas houses.
They did.
I'm not sure that it was their fault.
No, totally, but I think one meeting is not enough.
Right.
You know, I just think it needs to be a more fledged process.
Yeah, but we should try and be like forward-looking and positive, so maybe we say. We'd like for Douglas houses, PS 163, et cetera, to be involved in our peer review process.
Does
Have a-
anybody
have a
here,
voice.
was anybody here, I know you were here when JHL was on the table,
When what was on the table?
the nursing home.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that stopped, that actually killed that project and it went to the State Court of Appeals. It spent 5 years as a parking lot. And that's what we're really trying to figure out how to avoid here, because those people are still here.
That's why Gary Barnett is talking to us, so nobody sues him again.
Yeah, but
I mean, the thing is that if someone gets sued, no matter what the outcome is, it stops the project
right,
for years.
right. I mean, the thing about Gary Barnett's situation is he owns the land, he's paying for it. And all this stuff. Here, if the developer, and that was the same thing with JHL, the developer. Basically had a contract to buy the land, blah, 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 blah. In this case, if the developer runs into too much of that nonsense, they just walk away. And their loss is limited to whatever fees they paid.
Is that true?
Also, this is a pretty valuable piece of property. Do you think
Yeah.
people are gonna really be like, oh, too tough?
Yeah,
Depends on the developer.
Mhm.
yeah, not to keep going back to my previous life. But we did a project in East New York on Nigel land. And half the development team basically washed their hands of it. In the middle of the project. And the other half said that they still wanted to build this. And this was somebody who was more mission driven
Mhm.
and. It did get built in the end, but some of the other people just got so disgusted. The only thing that they were in the project for was to recover their initial investment they'd lost on the first scheme of the project, which had collapsed.
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason for making it R11, is that now it can pencil. Right?
Right.
Anything you're talking about in the past was not R11. And this is why you make R11, because these projects with MIH don't pencil, otherwise someone else would have done it. I mean, if it was profitable, someone would come do it. There's plenty of
Well, that's-
capital, plenty of people who want to build in Manhattan, let alone Upper West Side. But with an R11, now there's at least a chance, we'll see, that some people might want to build this project, so we'll see.
But I mean, the library space wasn't available to be built on. It belongs to the city and they had to agree to it. And they're only agreeing to it because they're gonna get what they want, which is a new
Well,
library.
the library
and
space
affordable housing.
existed, but we're comparing it to other city-owned projects in the past, like the Nitro one he mentioned, which were not R11, and which were not profitable, and our other RFPs, which we've discussed at past meetings, where you get 1 or 2 responses or 0 responses.
The
Right?
problem.
All of these examples are in a pre-R11 world.
Yeah, but the difference here is there's also no money, there's no city money available.
Yeah.
That's a big, big difference. I'm assuming there are also no tax credits.
And those two things
They,
are.
it's supposed to be 45X.
They definitely,
Yeah, it's supposed to be
It's
45X.
45X.
yeah.
Yeah. What was the
So
group
that's
that we
tax
met with?
It's a tax credit.
Stephen, the group that we met with that had submitted an RFP,
Right, Charney.
and they were talking about, an FAR of 18.
Then a 15.
No, they said 18, because
Oh, they did it? Oh, I certain.
I kind of clutched my heart.
Wow.
Well, I know that Porter team did a building downtown Brooklyn, it was about 50 stories tall and had 200 units of affordable in it. And that was privately financed.
But where is it located?
Um,
Brooklyn
basically
Street.
Flatbush and right near BAM.
Fort Greene.
And they did that 10 years ago.
I mean, this is R12 then. if
Yeah,
there's
FAR of
FAR
18,
18.
that requires
They
30,
did 12.
that would be 30% required,
That,
affordable.
that building didn't have rezoning, that was just.
Yeah, I mean, this example of the FAR 18, that means R12, and that means you have 30% affordable, which is more than you probably get with an R11.
Yeah. I really am very concerned about what affordable means. It is such a loose
Well,
definition.
You saw, look at the Sendero Verde I sent, and some of the bands.
It's not,
were
it's
run
a
up to,
specific,
almost
yeah,
It
those
depends
four,
on AMI.
but there's
No, there's four options.
Yeah, there's four options for AMI that are specific to MIH, so they have to choose A, B, C, or D.
Right, but that gets you this much of the building, and the building's this high.
Right.
So the piece from here to here can still be affordable, given what's really happening in the city right now.
No, it has to be mixed in
But
by
there's nothing
heights.
mandated.
Right, no, I understand, but in
Yeah.
terms of the portion, so if you have, let's say you have 800 units. 200, let's say 300, 200 to 300 units has to meet that criteria without using
Yeah.
rough numbers.
Yep.
And
You
it can
gotta-
be
you
spread
gotta-
out across the building, and it can still be 100% affordable if the other units run up to,
Yeah,
you know,
it
family,
won't be.
family
They
income
can
of 250 a
build
year.
much.
Why would it could be, but why would it be? Yeah.
Because you need it to make the finances work.
You need
Yeah, they're-
affordable to make the
no,
finances.
the market rate, he's saying
Because
that
it's
the market
market
rate, the
No
market rate.
city
Market
Market
rate
rate.
is a diff,
So
there's
market rate
market,
is gonna be in
there's
the
market,
sky.
actually, there's a concept of market rate versus workforce, which is different than affordable.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Wait, can I have the information, I can't join the Zoom again for some reason, but there are four options for MIH.
Sure.
Option one is, so you have to have a weighted average of AMI bands. Option one is a 60% AMI, option two is 80% AMI or lower. Option three, 40% AMI or lower, option four, 115%.
This is only within the MIH.
So they're all.
I'm talking about the buildings, the rest is not.
You're saying the other units can be as expensive as they want, that's
Yeah,
correct.
the other units are market rate, they could, whatever they
Yes.
get, they get.
So they're not gonna be
It's
affordable,
just
they could
115.
be affordable.
Thank you
for
if they built
clarifying.
them, But they're not going
150
to
is
be.
different.
Which one, the market rate units?
Did
Yeah,
you say
of course.
115 or 150?
15.
50, even that, 115 is a lot. It's a family of four who is making over about 120,000.
That's two people working in.
Yeah, I mean, it means two teachers
working
make
for-
too much,
That's exactly,
actually.
yeah, it's two
Yeah.
teachers.
Two teachers make too
don't-
much.
that Are not sitting on.
A carpenter
Even
teacher makes
teachers
too-
make more than that.
Once they
That's what
get
we're saying.
further up,
They make
but
too
two
much, they can't
32-year-old
qualify.
teachers are.
But if you're doing 115% AMI, you need 30% affordable
Yeah,
of the residential square footage. So, you know, the more, the higher the AMI, the more affordable you need to provide.
The more units, the more square footage.
Yeah.
So can we go back to the letters that
Yes.
we can maybe,
But it's not our responsibility to work these numbers out.
it's not,
It's our
No,
responsibility
they're gonna-
to understand what they are. But this is for the proposer to demonstrate, and if it doesn't meet HPD's or EPC's criteria, or they'll be told to revise it.
Right, agreed, Ira, but that's why we wanna get to the letter. And I keep saying, like, I'm new to the housing world, but I do think that asking for more engagement seems reasonable, because I don't think we're so unreasonable as to shut everything down, nor are we so unreasonable as to be like mandating, toilet paper holders, like.
And we are happy to the extent that we can to facilitate outreach to those different communities that we're discussing. Absolutely. Okay, so this letter would be less about, so take out the HPD part. The big thrust would be, we would like to be part of the RFP review process. And then our secondary concerns are, we still love to see greater community engagement with perhaps some of the HPD efforts as a model,
You know who we're also
affordability
missing?
and subsidy and timeline.
You know who we're missing in the
I think
discussion?
that's it.
City planning,
Why do we?
What?
because they have big say in this too.
Very awesome.
But not yet.
Yeah, that's part of the.
that's
it's a
your,
part of ULURP, of course, and.
Yeah, but the part of
Not
ULURP
yet.
is the infinite pre-certification period.
Yeah, doesn't-
Yeah,
But
you,
that's very
It
informal.
doesn't mean we have to mention them in this particular.
But, and they
Yeah.
also they are
Okay.
definitely invited, right? Like they have a stage, so we don't need to be calling them in. Right, they have a step.
Yeah, they're.
There is a step.
Yeah,
And request that they come talk to us again, that they EDC.
Right, yeah. And there were
Yeah.
a lot of questions, but they were further, I mean, first we get the meeting.
Yes.
Do we also want to include some timelines as far as when they talk to us?
I didn't.
Because we don't want them. well,
I didn't understand
that
break for the summer, and that's when they'll be willing. to-
Exactly.
The problem is the first time they came to us with a timeline that had no basis whatsoever in reality. Then they started to get more real, and then everybody got a little freaked out by the actual timelines.
I mean, the timeline that they presented to us for the project, not for.
No, I meant for to talk to us, because I don't want them to kind of go, down this long process, and they decide to talk to us and, 90% of everything's already been
Maybe we
done.
should put a date in there.
Yeah, we invited them to the next.
May or June, that was in the letter.
Yeah,
It's in the.
we want them to come talk to us like ASAP. We'll see if they listen, but we'll try.
Well, in the May, they're not gonna be reviewing that process.
I mean,
We're
you
gonna
can talk to
have
us about
to-
process.
No, except they're at the point where they're starting to review the
Oh, they haven't even
proposals.
seen them all, yeah.
No, they've all seen them, they've all gone through their basic qualifications.
Okay.
No, we're combined, 6,
You
7.
need to form a one committee, I
do-
think. Do you have a?
Do we have to
still form a
vote?
YL? I think we do. Don't
Okay.
we?
1,
You
2,
should, yeah.
5.
Do you get a vote?
Like,
No, she is not
Yeah,
a
she's-
committee member.
public
She's a
No, but she's a public. member.
she's a
Public
public
member.
member.
Oh, so you vote.
I only vote in the committees, not
But
in
not
the
a full
board.
board.
Right.
Okay,
So
so.
This is a committee.
Yes,
She-
yes.
3,
Yeah,
Do we,
have-
do we
4,
lose,
5, 6.
Igor?
We have
Yeah.
Dan.
And
Dan
then
is online.
7, we
And
have
Beverly
one.
is online.
Yay.
She's not on our
Okay.
committee though.
She's
Beverly,
not on
you there?
YEL, she's.
No,
Is
she's
that
on
Dan's
Hudson.
hand up because he wants to say something, or he's raising his hand?
Oh,
because it
Dan,
feels-
sorry, go ahead, Dan.
That's okay. I just want to point out that I think one of the most relevant facts here, as Seema alluded to before and in her email, that one of the top Mamdani officials is embraced this project. And that means they're going to be publicly identified with it. And I think just to some degree, that gives us some leverage in these kind of conversations. And I think particularly, and again, this is my personal hobby, or I own this, but when people find out that this major project is going to take more than 10 years, there will be no affordable housing for 10 years, their first response is going to be, this is insane. And so I think we should try to capitalize on the fact that this is no longer an Adams project. This is going to be a Mamdani project. And they have a pressure to deliver for their voters who are demanding change on this. More, 30% units.
Donnie will be out of office by the time.
Well,
it's
it's
open.
certainly-
Yeah, harassing.
He'll be lucky if he might get a groundbreaking before he's running for a second term, but that's as far as he's gonna get. Because they have to get everything in place and move the library.
Understand all of that. I'm just saying that they're going to have political pressure to get this done faster, and we should try and leverage that to get them to engage on that and moving up the timeline.
Yeah.
So we want to work with to Google.
Yes, which we do have in here.
Yeah, we have that in.
Well, you know what, if everybody in Park West Village is okay with weekend and evening instruction, it's possible. I'm not going to that meeting.
Okay, shall we vote? Should we do YEL first, since you guys have the form?
Yeah, why don't we do YAL?
Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any opposed?
We're 6, 7 with Dan.
Oh, I thought I had 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with down. Yeah.
No, because you're not on YL though.
No, but I'm.
Oh, you're housing.
Yeah.
No, you're not- I thought you were YEL also.
No.
No, we're voting for YEL
Oh,
first.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, 7-0, any abstaining, any ineligible? No. Okay, 7-0-0-0, and then housing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Al, do I
And
get to vote
Beverly?
twice? I guess I did.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes,
Beverly is
Oh,
also,
six.
yes.
Thank
Okay.
you, Beverly. 6. Any opposed? Abstention?
No.
Ineligible, okay.
Actually, like this one to get.
Yeah, yeah,
Good.
thank you. I think it came a long way. It's better.
Okay.
Thank you all. We'll see you again. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
night.
So we can adjourn. I have a question though, Kristen.
Urban meetings, if they decide to come up.